Just set us up here, Mandeep. I mean, what was your reaction to this report and some of the allegations that are in there?
I mean, it's not that surprising given a lot of these platforms have been questioned around child safety and, the usage that...
Mainly this one.
Mainly this
one,
because...
Not a lot of these platforms, right?
Actually, I would say Instagram and YouTube as well, but more so for Roblox because it caters to the 9 to 20-year-olds. That's their entire user base. And when you talk about a platform with an 80 million daily active users in that age group, there will be concerns around child safety. I mean, the content that they're consuming, how much time they're spending, what kind of communities are thriving on that platform. And I think that's what Hindenburg is bringing into focus, that there isn't enough content safety. And, the fact that you've got 80 million daily active users is probably inflated. And I would say there were question marks raised around, whether Roblox's market is saturated, given it caters to the young users. And they've been able to grow 20% plus on the user side for the past, 6 to 8 quarters. So clearly, they've been executing very well on the metrics. But I think what Hindenburg is saying is there are a lot of bots on the platform. There isn't enough content safety on the platform. And I think you could make that case for any walled garden out there. I mean, even for, as I said, Facebook or YouTube, you could say there are things that are going on which may not be, good from a safety point of view.
And I do wonder, I mean, what are a 9-year-old and a 20-year-old doing on the same platform? How can it cater to both of those age ranges? I have no experience with Roblox. I feel like your kids
or 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
Neither one of us has any experience with 9-year-olds, but I like to think that when my child becomes 9 years old, I will not let her roam the internet without any kind of, parents have a responsibility here as well. But what does the company say it's doing, to get child abusers off of the platform? Clearly they know, Bloomberg Business Week has written a piece saying that they're really not doing enough.
I mean, the big use case for a platform like Roblox is gaming. The reason why Roblox is different from a TikTok or an Instagram or, YouTube is the kids go to Roblox for playing games with their, friends or their communities. And that's where all the content on Roblox is 3D gaming. Plus, they have all the other adjacencies, which is where I think they get into trouble with the safety aspect, is there are a lot of other folks on the platform that are not using the platform just for gaming. But I think the dominant use case, the reason why, in aggregate, they get 50 billion hours in a year on the platform, it's a gaming use case.
And of course, a spokesperson for the company, for Roblox, said that we firmly believe that Roblox is a safe and secure platform, and in the financial metrics we report. And of course, we're talking about two separate things here. Of course, you have the child safety concerns, but you also have the allegation that Roblox has inflated those key metrics. And when you're evaluating a company like this, I mean, talk through some of these metrics and their importance and how bad it would be if this report is true.
Absolutely. I mean, user growth, I talked about, the fact that they have been able to grow users at a 20% plus clip. Anytime a platform sees a deceleration in user growth, and we have seen that with Snap and Pinterest, these are more niche social media platforms, the valuations get compressed. So in the case of Roblox, it does trade at a premium, although the valuations have come down recently. And, any deceleration in user growth will have an impact on the valuation for sure.